I consciously set about to recreate myths and the classic mythological motifs, and I wanted to use those motifs to deal with issues that existed today.
If I'm being honest, when I first watched The Last Jedi, I didn't hate it. And while I was disappointed that Luke didn't get more screen time as the Jedi Master we know and love, I really had no problem with his character. But as I've started to kind of study and analyze the Star Wars story further, my horror at how they bastardized his character has grown exponentially. Because whether George Lucas knew it or not, Luke Skywalker is one of the most complex heroes of all time. A hero that now, more than ever, we desperately need. I've said many times on this channel that the original Star Wars trilogy is a modern myth, the hero's journey brought into the modern age. And while it's true, in many ways, it's an oversimplification. While Star Wars is an exploration of the hero's journey, the original series takes that journey even further. There's a reason Star Wars captured the general imagination the way it did. It was transcendent. And its protagonist, Luke Skywalker, was similarly iconic. So in today's video, I want to analyze this character and go beyond the simple image of hero conquering villain. Because Luke is far from your run-of-the-mill hero. The original Star Wars is one which adheres to the classic hero's journey, revealing Lucas's love of Joseph Campbell, classic fairy tales, and the ancient myths that came before.
It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of. We have a fairy princess, we have an innocent farm boy who yearns for adventure. Alec Guinness is a wise old wizard who teaches me a mystical force, somewhat like Merlin would teach a young King Arthur.
And A New Hope even fits into all 12 steps of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey perfectly. Luke Skywalker is a moisture farmer who lives on Tatooine with his aunt and uncle and dreams of a better life among the stars. He discovers a secret message from a princess asking for help and brings it to an old hermit who he discovers is actually a Jedi, one among an ancient race of warrior wizards that have kept the peace in the galaxy for thousands of years. Obi-Wan Kenobi offers to teach him the ways of the Force, and they embark on an adventure to save the princess. In the end, Luke loses Obi-Wan to the Dark Lord, Darth Vader, accepts his fate as a Jedi warrior, and destroys the Death Star to aid the rebellion. So, to some extent, Luke is an ordinary character. I mean, this character arc is the traditional hero's journey. But he completes this entire arc within the first film, which prompts the question, where does the character of Luke Skywalker go from here? I'll admit that a lesser story would try and undo this character development, or simply stagnate his character for the next few films, but George Lucas was more ambitious. He wanted to incorporate the mythic hero into modernity, notwithstanding all the moral complexity that would require.
And what are the things that they all actually believed? We're talking relationships with your father, relationships with your society, your history, relationships with the gods, that explained what they believed in and who they believed in.
While A New Hope is a story about a young boy accepting his destiny, joining the struggle of good versus evil, both Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi delve deeper. They explore the concept of morality, the concept that the truest struggle is not one of power, but of power over oneself, a battle of self-control. And if you don't believe me, just look at Luke's costumes throughout all 3 films, starting with pale white, then gray, till eventually black. Because what happens when evil and good are equally possible realities? When your hero discovers that the true potential for evil comes from within. There's a concept posited by the psychologist Carl Jung known as the shadow self. Put simply, it's the idea that all of us have an internal persona, composed of everything that we view as evil in the world. Anger, pride, greed, all that is detestable. And the path to true good, true heroism, is through self-awareness, a confrontation of our potentiality for evil instead of projecting it onto others. And in The Empire Strikes Back, this is the main theme of Luke's journey. Everything Luke has learned is turned upside down. His loyalty, his recklessness, and even his Force sensitivity are all called into question. Not only are his strengths imperfect, but more importantly, his framework of morality, what he understands to be true evil, ends up being a bit too close for comfort.
No, I am your father.
The man who killed his father is actually his father. The man who was his master was actually his deceiver, and Luke's greatest obstacle to becoming a Jedi is actually himself. Instead of reversing his character development, Lucas simply changes perspective, letting the audience discover with Luke that there's more to being a hero than victory.
Is the dark side stronger?
No. But the busier, more seductive.
But how am I to know the good side from the bad?
You will know when you are calm, at peace, passive. A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack.
Like anything in the real world, it's not just about skills or power.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
But you are not a Jedi yet.
After all, the dark side has power too. Which means for Luke to become a true hero, a Jedi Knight, he must gain not only skills, but self-control. He must master his feelings, and by the time he learns this, it's already too late. In the Catholic tradition, freedom is not defined simply as choice, but the ability to choose the good. And while this may seem like a somewhat meaningless or even incoherent distinction, I think it's a concept that directly applies to Luke Skywalker. Because can anyone really be good without the choice of evil? So in Return of the Jedi, Luke is left alone.
When gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be?
A test as to his moral fortitude. And as part of this test, Luke must face Vader, his shadow self, alone.
You must confront Vader. Then, only then, a Jedi will you be.
It's no coincidence that at the beginning of the third film, Luke is different. He's stronger, more stoic, and more in control.
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete.
The model image of a Jedi. Or maybe a Sith. And this image directly foreshadows the final conflict of the film and the ambiguity which still remains in Luke. Luke must make a choice, and yet must surrender his desire for control at the same time. If you look at the emotions of the Sith, fear, anger, hate, they are inherently self-absorbed. Emotions which overwhelm the user if he gives in. But for the Jedi, it's different. The light side of the Force takes more will and discipline to master. This is Luke's final challenge to becoming a hero. Not only must he learn the powers of the Force, but he must surrender to them. And when he finally does, the Emperor addresses him as he should be addressed.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi. like my father before me.
So be it, Jedi.
See, what finally completes Luke's apotheosis into a Jedi, a true hero, is his unwavering faith. His belief that good will triumph over evil, even when it's illogical.
I will not turn, and you'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny,
Search your feelings, Father. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
it is too late for me, son.
He isn't the chosen one. He's a side character to the main story. And yet it's his faith in his father, his belief that Vader truly can be redeemed, that saves himself, Darth Vader, and the galaxy at large. Luke becomes a Jedi because he finally surrenders to something larger than himself. Not to win, not even to have power, but because there is inherent merit in it. There's a difference between characters who are like us and characters who show us who we can be. Any average nihilist would say that the latter view is simply naive, a simpler form of unrealistic storytelling. But I beg to differ. Heroes have been around as long as stories have. And while in the modern era of self-referential meta-humor, villains and anti-heroes have become the default protagonist, I think the world is a worse place for it. Because anti-heroes are only interesting when shown in contrast to the traditional, to heroism. But when that original concept is lost, well, you lose the plot entirely. Which is exactly what happened with Luke Skywalker, a hero mischaracterized by the modern era, not out of malice, but simply because they couldn't understand what made him work in the first place. Luke Skywalker is the perfect hero, new and old at the same time, an embodiment of everything humanity holds to be true, a character of mythic purpose, self-mastery, and relentless hope. A Jedi. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because now that we've talked about heroes, it's only fair that we explore the more popular alternative. Anti-hero.